Let's go over some of the best double elixir decks to use in this new September meta. Hey guys, that's right here, and welcome back to another Clash Royale video with the double elixir global tournament starting in under a day and a new meta that just recently popped up. Today, I'm going to be going over the top 5 double elixir decks that you can run in the upcoming global tournament. As usual, for each and every deck, I'm going to be going over a quick summary of how to play each of them. But before we get into the video, if you could please leave a like down below and subscribe to the channel for more videos like this one. Also, use code Legendaray in the shop. You get the dealio. Let's get right into the decks. Number 1, Hound Beatdown. Now, if you want to talk about the easiest deck to play in the upcoming Double Elixir Global Tournament, it is going to be a classic Hound deck. Not only is it one of the easiest decks to play in single Elixir time, but in double Elixir time, you can most definitely afford playing 7 Elixir in the back of the arena. Starting off, this is a very aggressive Hound Beatdown deck. Despite the somewhat expensive Elixir cost, you're going to spend most of the time building up big Hound pushes and trying to overwhelm your opponents. So starting off talking about the offense of this deck, your offensive pushes are going to be relatively straightforward, but how you build the push is going to be rather important. Of course, the most important thing is you want to figure out what your opponent's air counters are. If they have a heavy unit such as a baby dragon, then maybe use your Inferno Dragon to take that tank down. Alternatively, if they have something such as an Inferno Dragon of their own or other swarm units, then you should definitely prioritize always using the Electro Dragon in support of your Hound. Of course, aside from that, you also have the Miner, which can be sent to any ranged defense that your opponent has, and then most of the time I'll also combo the Miner with either the Snowball and the Poison, which will help soften the units up as well, allowing your Miner to get even more damage. On the defensive end, well, you also have some very easy and solid defensive options. Of course, Goblin Cage is honestly one of the best cards in Clash Royale right now, and because we're in the double elixir environment, having the Electro Dragon and the Inferno Dragon is such a powerful combo, because not only can you stall the opponent's push, but you also have an amazing way to just disintegrate the opponent's tanks. All in all, a very well-rounded and easy to use deck. Just keep in mind that you are going to be playing this deck rather aggressively. Number 2, Mega Knight Royal Hogs. Mega Knight Royal Hogs is a deck that has just become so popular, and especially in a double elixir environment, you're gonna need a bit more of a tanky variation if you do want to survive. Now, this is going to be a bit more of a fast version of Control. You're going to, of course, be wanting to get tons of chip damage with the Royal Hogs. I'm gonna always be cycling some of my cheap cards to start the match. May that be the Bandit, the Bar Barrel, the Zappies, or the Goblin Cage. After that, because my win condition is the Royal Hogs, and I'm sure a lot of players are gonna be running a ton of Splash Control, I usually won't go in with the Hogs unless I'm pretty confident I know what my opponents are going to have to counter them with. So the point of this cheap cycling is to bait out your opponent's counters, which will allow you to go in with those Hogs. Speaking of the defensive end, well, of course, Goblin Cage, as I said earlier, such a good defensive building. You have the Zappies, which is insanely useful at stalling the opponent's push, which will allow your tower, the Zappies, as well as the Bandit to get as much value as possible. Of course, Mega Knight is there for emergency splash as well as tankage, but because it's 7 elixir, I usually won't be relying as much on that Mega Knight. Moving on to the offense, this deck is very double lane focused. Of course, because the Royal Hogs are a win condition that can be split in both lanes, you can split your push up into 2, which will give your opponent such a difficult time to deal with. Lastly, there's also a Fireball bait element in this deck as well, with the Royal Hogs, the Zappies, and the Flying Machine all being units that die to medium spells such as the Fireball and the Poison. So as soon as you bait out one of those medium spells, you're gonna be able to just go ham with your other Fireball bait units. Number 3, Balloon Freeze. Now, this Bowler Balloon Freeze deck, I think I pretty much feature in every single one of my special Elixir videos. That's just because this deck is honestly one of the most universal deck that you can play in Clash Royale. Starting off, however, I will again play this deck rather reactively. If the opponent uses a ton of their air counters, then just straight up go in with a balloon push. But aside from that, you don't have too much in terms of quick pressure. And starting off the match, again, I will be on the reactive side. To do this, well, is pretty simple. The Electro Dragon and the Inferno Dragon can pretty much counter any type of push that the opponent has coming at you, and then the Bowler and Lumberjack pretty much just take care of any sort of ground push the opponent has as well. Of course, never underestimate both a defensive tornado and a defensive freeze. This will buy all of your units so much extra time, which can be essential, especially if you're in a pinch. Now, because this is a control-based deck, most of the times my balloon pushes will be off of counter pushes. Both the dragons as well as the Bowler are very tanky units, so they'll likely be alive after surviving a defense, and so supporting those surviving units with a balloon, a lumberjack, and maybe even a freeze is going to be absolutely crucial. And as usual, never underestimate the tornado and the freeze spell. An offensive freeze is pretty self-explanatory. You just freeze the opponent's counters and freeze the opponent's tower, but a tornado can also be used very effectively, pulling away the opponent's air counters and allowing that balloon to get a clean connection on the tower. Number 4. Mega Knight Double Spawners. Now this is such a notorious deck in Clash Royale, and it's still so good in this new meta. Starting off the match, you're just going to be playing down your spawners. You want to build them up as much as possible, and most of the times I find that the opponent will start using their medium spells on those spawners, and that is when you're able to strike. The defense and offense of this deck is pretty much just merged into one, because more often than not, the opponents will eventually have to start playing their units down to defend your spawners, and then you can just use your Mother Witches, Cannon Carts, and Flying Machine to take care of those units and build up pushes of your own. In addition to that, you also have just 2 buildings in this deck, so no matter what, if the opponent has a building targeting unit, well, you're likely going to have something in response. Moving on to the offense, of course, your pushes are very heavily focused on counter pushes. Because there technically isn't an exact win condition in this deck, your goal is to always overwhelm your opponents and just absolutely steamroll their defense, so it is very important that you keep this point in mind. One final strategy is to place spawners in the opposite lane that your opponents are going to be pushing. This way, the opponent is gonna have to really decide which lane they're gonna want to commit to. Do they want to just constantly take the spawner damage and push the other lane, or do they want to switch lanes to deal with your spawners? All in all, very easy deck to play. Just focus on trying to overwhelm your opponents as quickly as possible. Number 5. Golem Beatdown. Golem Beatdown has taken a huge hit in this current meta with the nerf of the Night Witch, but in this double elixir environment, we're seeing this variation of Golem becoming very popular. Starting off, this is a heavy beatdown deck, but of course, because we're in double elixir time, it is a little bit more forgiving for you to play golems a little bit earlier. So maybe if the opponent plays something cheap in the back, then you can mirror that play with your own golem and start to build your own push. Speaking of which, building up a golem beatdown push, well, do I really need to explain? You got your big tank, you got all your supporting units, just plop everything behind the golem. Of course, there are 2 things that you will have to note. The first is to save elixir for the tornado. An offensive tornado is insanely useful, and especially paired with cards such as the Baby Dragon and the Electro Dragon can really effectively take out any defense that the opponent is able to set up. Secondly, you want to watch out for spell value. You may be very tempted to just spam everything in towards your opponent's tower, but sometimes the opponent may just be baiting you and they're gonna be able to rocket or lightning out your entire push. On the defensive end, well, even though you don't technically have a building, you have a lot of high output damage, which is very effective at taking out many of the big tanks that you're likely going to face. Most importantly, this will be your cannon cart, your lumberjack, as well as the mega minion. Aside from that, however, Baby Dragon and Electro Dragon is going to serve as your splash control on defense, and of course the tornado is also going to be insanely useful on this side of the match as well. All in all, Golem Beatdown, just an insanely simple deck to pick up and play, so again, another one of the top choices for the upcoming global tournament. So there we go, the top 5 double elixir decks to use in this upcoming double elixir global tournament. I wish you guys the best of luck in that tournament, and as always, I'll see you guys next time.